This is my new to me BMW M2 competition, and I believe it might be one of the cheapest ones in the UK. Now, first of all, I'll give you a little walk around of the car and I'll show you the damage. So the damage is to this front right driver's side corner, and you can see it's pushed the wing back into the door and it's ripped the wheel clean off of the suspension. I actually got this car privately from a local lad, and he was driving down one side of the road and the other guy came up this side of the road and swerved into his lane, and it's just clearly ripped his wheel completely off. Other than the damage, the obvious damage, the rest of the car is in really good condition. Here you can see the S55 engine, what a beast. This car has the same engine as the M3s and the M4s, but the original M2 has a different engine. It has the N55, which you'll find in like a 240i, but the M2 competition has the same engine as the M3s and the M4s. But other than that damage, the car is in really good condition. It's only got 18,000 miles. Obviously it's a 2020 as well, so it's a really good example of a M2, low mileage. The rest of the bodywork's in really good condition. There's no other damage other than this. It has nicked the wing mirror, but I think I'm gonna get away with just getting this lower part of the wing mirror and a cap to fix that, hopefully. So I actually did buy this car a couple of weeks ago, and I've just been accumulating all the parts. You can see I've got a new dashboard, I've got a new door, wheel arches, I've actually got a new brake caliper, as well as a complete suspension hub, new alloy, a new brake disc, and I did actually get a full set of braided brake lines to hopefully improve the braking performance a little bit. And as well, we do have the pyro fuse. So the way that these work, if you don't know, this is the power wire which comes from the battery here, and this other power wire comes down to your starter motor. And there's a little explosive in here, so this little plug is where the sensor sits for the airbag. So once your airbags deploy, this explosive in here blows up and it stops the connection from these two wires. So the power coming down this wire will no longer travel through into this wire. So that's what stops the power from going to your engine from starting, because the power's coming in and it'll no longer bridge this gap and it won't go down this wire anymore, so the car can't start until you replace this. You can see as well the extent to the damage on this alloy. It's completely ripped all the spokes out. This one's even bent completely outside of the wheel, which is crazy. It's all cracked on the inside. It's had quite a heavy impact. And on the interior as well, you can see all of the airbags have blown, unfortunately. The steering wheel airbags went, the dashboard airbags went. That's why I've got a new dashboard. As well, if you don't know, when the dashboard airbag blows, you essentially have to replace the full dash because it rips through the lever there. You can get away with closing them up and restitching the dashboard sometimes, but I don't know how to do that. I just find it easier to replace the full dash. And the curtain airbag's blown as well. Changing a dashboard airbag isn't actually as daunting as it seems. It seems like a really difficult job. But on BMWs especially, it's very simple to change the dashboards. I know I'm saying that lightly, but it's really not as difficult as you probably think to change the dashboard. Once you remove all of these trims out from the dash, and you remove the clocks and the radio from there, there's not much left to it. You've just got to find all the bolts and it comes loose. It's not as difficult as it probably seems. But yeah, I think the first things that I'm going to tackle is try to get that wing off. And then I think I'm going to change the dashboard because I've got all the airbags here. You can see I've got the curtain too, and I've got the steering wheel airbag. I might actually put starlights in this car. I'm undecided, but I think I'm going to. It's a really nice car. It's got nice little bits of carbon. And on the interior as well, on the dashboard, you can see it's got these Alcantara trims. This is like an option from factory, which I think are really nice. Normally these are just fully carbon fiber, but the little bit of Alcantara is nice. It's also got it here around the shift knob, which is quite nice. I already know me using this tool against the wing is going to trigger people, even though the wing is absolutely destroyed. Ooh, that was under a lot of tension there. You might have seen when I undone the bolts, it's just sprung back. Now you can see here where the wing has pushed back from the door. There's actually a bolt in there, which I didn't think I was going to be able to get to. You normally have to access it through the inside of the door, but I should be able to get it open-ended 10 mil on there. and loosen the bolts. You know what, I've just realized, why am I trying to save this? I can just be aggressive with it because I've got new brackets for the wing as well. Yeah, so I've just removed the arch liner to see if there's any more damage behind here, but you can see that radiator is absolutely untouched. The headlight is absolutely untouched as well. So it's just this damage on the left side. There's no damage over here on the right. I'm just gonna try pull on this and see if I can get anywhere with it. And that's the wing removed. I've just ripped the, oh no I didn't, it's already ripped off. I thought I ripped the bolt off. Wow, where is the bolt? Oh, there's the bolt for the wing. So I was never getting that off. One little tip as well, if you're doing sort of crash car stuff, literally, even though this is absolutely destroyed, I'm still gonna take this bolt out of here because I'm gonna need this bolt when I put the ring back on. You need to just remember not to lose anything like that. Even this little clip, which holds the bolt in, I'm gonna save that clip as well because I know I'm bound to need that. Yeah, so there's the bolt, and then this little clip, which holds the bolt on. Probably gonna need a pick. There we go. I'm sure my new wing won't have the clips on it. And I always put the bolt back into the clip, just so you know that that clip's from that bolt. There's another clip on it here. And also, simple things like this. So this is the bracket which holds your wing onto your bumper. So you might remove this wing from your car and just think, oh, scrap, chuck it in the bin. And then you go put the wing back on and you've threw out this bracket. There's not only one bracket there, there's the one for the bumper side, and there's another bracket which sits on the back of the wing for the screws to screw into. So that would probably cause another couple days delays. You'd have to ring the dealership and get the parts. You don't want to be doing that. So just make sure not to throw things like this out when you're rebuilding a car. So the washer bottle as well is destroyed, so I'm just going to get that out of the way. Another little tip as well, I know stuff like this is going to be really obvious to people, but if you remove a bolt from somewhere, what I always do is I will put the bolt back, sorry. I know this will be very obvious to a lot of people, but when you remove bolts from things, just put them back into the hole which they came out of, so then when you go to put it back, you're not searching for the screws, you know that that bolt came out of that hole, and it just makes it a lot easier to just stay organized. So now that I've got the wing removed, you can see I actually do have access to the hinges for the door. Now, I thought the damage was going to be a bit worse behind here, but it's actually not as bad as I thought. This hinge doesn't seem to be pushed in as much as I thought it was going to be. And then this top one just seems completely unaffected. So it is still bad, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I'm definitely going to be able to get this door off because you can see that big Torx screw there and the other one there. So I just need to undo these two Torx bolts. Actually, I might undo the 13. No, I'm going to undo the Torx and then the door should just lift off. Now I've had to get the big bertha out for this one because I can imagine these bolts being quite heavily torqued. Go for this bottom one. See, the whole door's just dropped there. The second I loosened that off. Now that's disconnected as well. I wonder if this is going to be a struggle or not. Now I'm hoping that I can just lift this door off and it should just come away. It might be pretty stuck. Let's see. Oh yeah, the lock's stuck. I'm gonna have to cut through with an angle grinder. I find it awful when I use an angle grinder now because the smell of things burning just gives us actual PTSD. It's horrible. Right, so after about 10 minutes of angle grinding and braying, I finally got all of that off. And you can see this black little piece there, that black piece there, is what was holding the lever in. Anyway, I was able to spin that. And now I think the door should come off, hopefully, fingers crossed. If I just push that down. Yep. Oh, the check strap. Oh, wrong size. Wrong size. There we go. So there we have it. There's the wing off, wings off, and the doors off. Now we're gonna have a proper look at the damage. So how bad is that? I don't think that's too bad. It's just the outer skin there. That little bit on the inside looks like it's had a little nick. But if we take that outer skin panel off, you see from all these spot welds, probably just cut it there. And I'll get a replacement piece. We can replace all that. It'll be as good as new. Hopefully, I'm hoping we're gonna be able to get access to behind this from when I take the dashboard out. We should be able to get behind that in there and knock it forward. But overall, not as bad as I thought. So the main reason that I wanted to remove the door first was that I want to change the dashboard, and to do that you need to have the doors open because obviously I need to be able to get to the sort of the sides and stuff. Now I have access to remove the dashboard, so that's the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get all the airbags changed out, get the headliner ripped out, and hopefully put all the new airbags back in as well. I'm going to have to get this seat restitched because it's ripped, but it looks like it's ripped perfectly fine. Oh no, it's ripped through the leather. Oh no. Oh, that's really annoying. Oh, I might need a new seat. That's really annoying. Oh well. I might still be able to get someone to stitch it up. Oh, they're gonna be so expensive.
Now here you can see that I'm removing the dashboard, and I did mention at the start of the video that this is one of the cheapest M2s in the country, I believe. So I will get into the price later in the video, and you might have also noticed that I'm in a new location. This is actually my new garage, and it was very well overdue anyway, but yeah, we've finally got a garage. But there's the dashboard fully removed, and then I'm just swapping over the speakers and some other trims for the dash, and there you can see the old blown one compared to the new one that isn't blown, and this is what your car looks like without a dash inside. It's pretty crazy. And here's just me messing on. But then I could finally start to reinstall the dash. And the first thing you want to do is make sure all the wires are coming out to the right places. Otherwise, you might end up screwing the dash in and you find that you've got a wire trapped here or there. So you want to make sure all the wires are coming out to the correct places first, and then start to reinstall everything. Now that the dashboard's fully installed and out the way, the next big thing that I had to do was change the subframe. So here I'm removing the wheels, and then I need to remove all the plastic under trays and this big metal under tray which protects your engine and gearbox. And then next I could start to remove the arch liners, and then also loosen off all of the suspension arms which connect to the subframe. So I've removed the under tray and the arch liners to be able to access the suspension bolts, and I've loosened off the suspension bolts from the subframe on this side because obviously I need to drop the subframe. So to do that I need to disconnect all the suspension arms from the subframe, and also the steering rack is connected to the subframe by this bolt here and that bolt there. There's also the two engine mounts, one there and there's also one there. If you're ever removing these, be careful because these are filled with oil, so if you damage them they can split and you'll lose all the oil and you'll have to replace the full mount. Now I'm using the engine crane to support the engine, as the engine sits on top of the subframe. So if you were to just drop the subframe out of the car, the engine would come with it. So in order to remove the subframe, I need to support the engine up in the air. Now with the engine supported, I can remove the bolts for the subframe. Now I need to swap over the steering rack onto the new subframe, as well as the anti-roll bar. If you look towards the top right side of the subframes, you'll notice the difference and where the damage is. On the one on the left hand side, it is completely destroyed. With the steering rack and the anti-roll bar installed on the new subframe, I could then put the subframe on the floor and start to raise it into the bottom of the car. Now this was pretty difficult to do on my own, so what I did was I got two jacks and I raised them from the front and the rear, so then I could get one bolt in the rear of the subframe on both sides, and then I moved the jacks to the sides of the subframe to lift the both sides up on one another. You can see me doing that here. Quite complicated to explain and quite difficult to do on your own, but I managed. And then here you can see I'm putting the bolts back in for the subframe. Now that that's all bolted up, I can then start to reinstall the suspension arms and tighten those up as well. And then I can finally tighten all of the subframe bolts again and start to reinstall all of the plastic trims and under tray pieces, as well as the arch liners. And now I can also remove the engine crane, since the engine is now supported with the subframe. Now I can finally install the new suspension corner on the driver's side, since this was completely ripped out in the crash. Now with all the suspension installed, I'm going to change all the brake lines to the braided brake lines which I bought, just to upgrade the braking performance. You can see the difference from the braided brake lines to the standard brake lines here. So I've installed the braided brake lines on all four corners of the car. You can see on the damaged corner, you can see that upgraded brake line there. I've put the new suspension leg in, but I've not bolted the arms on yet, so I need to do that now. The subframe's in, so the arms can be bolted to the subframe. So I've got those two suspension arms in now, but I've not tightened them up fully. That's because if I tighten them up now with the car in the air, when I drop the car on the floor, them arms are going to be under tension. What you want to do is jack the hub up so that the suspension is where it would be if the car was on the floor, and then tighten the arms up then so that the arms aren't under tension. Because if I tighten them up now and I drop the car on the floor, the bushings are going to be wanting to twist and they're just going to break a lot quicker. I managed to actually change the subframe on my own, just using two jacks to lift it up on both sides, and I just slowly had to maneuver it up until I could get the bolts in, and yeah, then it just ended up all lining up. The only bolt which doesn't line up on the subframe, this bolt right here, because this wall has been slightly pushed back, so now that the subframe's on, this will act as a guide, so when we pull this out, we'll know once the bolt lines up, then that's fine. I've actually bought a complete chassis cut, which includes this whole piece here. So I think we'll be replacing this full front section. I need to get the brake caliper on, the brake disc on, put some brake fluid in the lines, bleed the full system, and then it should then be able to be moved forward and backwards. You can see here, this section of the subframe is now perfectly fine. This was all crushed and destroyed on the old one. I had bought the wrong brake disc, so at this point I was realizing this brake disc isn't fitting, and this is really annoying because this was the last thing I needed to be able to drive this car. Now I decided to just install the caliper anyway and just use a block of wood to act as a brake disc. Obviously I'm not going to be able to drive the car properly, but this was just so I can move it forward and backwards. And here I'm just installing that new brake line.
Now that I've got all the braided lines installed, I need to fill up the system with some brake fluid. So I'm going to fill the reservoir up first, and then I'm going to use a easy bleeder to bleed all the corners. Right, I'm going to connect the air line now, and the fluid should start coming out. Is it coming out yet? Now you see all these little bubbles. I'm going to let this run for a little while until these bubbles start coming out, and then that should be it. Right, so there's no more bubbles now, so now I'm going to close this line. There we go. I think this is going to be, this one's definitely going to be the one that has the most air come through, so this one's going to take a lot longer than the rears did, because obviously this is the corner that lost its brake line, so all the fluid has came out of this line. The two rear lines only lost the fluid from the brake line that I replaced. So that's cracked off. Now I'll keep the camera there, but as soon as I connect this to the wheel, you'll see it's on now, so the brake fluid's going to start coming out any second. It's probably going to take a while to come through this one. There it goes. And now I'm just going to give it a little while to let any air bubbles come through. I'm really annoyed because the brake disc which I'd bought, which was correct for my car, doesn't fit my hub, so it's the wrong disc. It's really annoying because I've just bled all 4 corners of the brakes, I've installed the suspension, I've done the subframe, I've done all the brake lines, I've bled all the brakes, and I should be able to drive it now if I could just put the disc on, but obviously I can't put the disc on because it's not the right size. Don't really know what to do now. I'm just gonna have to get a disc tomorrow, but I'm gonna put all the wheels back on now, and as soon as I get a disc, it should be ready for its first drive. Ooh. So I've just fitted the door on, and I do also have the wing here, but I'm not going to put the wing on because all of these brackets for the wing are missing there. And the door, I've just installed it to see how far out the hinges are, and you can see the door's sitting out on the top because that bottom hinge is pushed in. Obviously both of the hinges are massively out of place, but you can see how far away it is. It's quite far out. That shows you how much both of them hinges need adjusting. So I'm going to take the door back off now because obviously it doesn't close.
Now you finally might be wondering how much did I pay for the car, and given it's a 2020, it's got 18,000 miles, this car would be worth around £35,000 without a category S marker. I paid £10,000 for this BMW M2. What do you think? Is that a good price? Is that not a good price? Let me know in the comments. Now that is going to be it for this video. In the next video, I will do a complete price breakdown so you can see exactly how much this car's cost me and what it's worth. We've got it all running and driving now, and it's just really the bodywork left to do. So in the next video, it'll be fully finished. And this whole editing thing is very new to me, so if there's anything you'd like to see differently or anything you'd like to change, let me know in the comments. Any feedback would be greatly appreciated. And if you enjoyed watching this video, the best way to support me and my channel is simply just by subscribing. So don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.